And welcome back, rugby fans, to Rugby411. As always, I'm your host. My name is Joshua Shibata. And though we have just finished the 2024 Major League Rugby season, and what an exciting finish, surprisingly, for a week that kind of didn't have too much on the line for a lot of the teams. Of course, I will have my traditional video recapping all of that. Also, congratulating the winner of our pick'em pool, which again we'll go through all of that. But we have an exciting month. July of 2024 is going to be an exciting month of rugby for all rugby fans, not just American rugby fans, but all rugby fans. But in America in particular, we have a lot of exciting competitions coming up for our USA men, our USA women, and our under 20 teams as well. Not only do we have U.S. women's under 20 are going to be in competition, we of course have our national Eagles doing a couple of games against Scotland and Romania in the next couple of weeks. The women's are going to be gearing up for their competition later on in next month, actually, against Japan. We also, of course, at the end of the year have, if you are a huge Sevens fan, we have the Summer Olympics in France, where, of course, both USA women's and men's Sevens teams will be competing for gold. And, of course, we have this, our 2024 World Rugby Under 20 Trophy Tournament, which the men's USA Under 20 team is going to be competing in. And that is what we are reviewing in this video right now. So, just a little background on the tournament. The tournament is a huge international competition focusing on national teams under 20 squads. Again, for most American fans, we're not very familiar with the concept of under 20, under 18 age groups. That's more of an international thing, especially when it comes to soccer. Rugby is technically an international sport, so we do have age groups of competitions. There is actually an under 18 tournament, not necessarily as big as the under 20s tournament, which this one is recognized by the World Rugby Organization. But again, all these competitions are basically designed to give young players in their respective countries the opportunity to work on a international level competition, facing likewise under 20 talent from around the world, in the goal ultimately to develop them and prepare them for when they will step up to the next level and be on the national team. Although there are one player in particular on the under 20 team that is already a capped Eagle, which I'll talk about later. But again, for newer American fans, especially fans that are really into watching college sports and seeing college players start at the college level and then develop their way to the pro level, this is a great way to start looking at certain players. And there's a bunch of them on this team. A couple of them who've already made it to the Major League Rugby scene, and watch them make their way up to the national level, to the pro level, and really say that you were at the beginning of their careers. It's a really exciting part of watching players develop, and also it's a great opportunity to develop the game in America because it gives young college players, under 20 players, a pathway. You get to the under 20 team, you work in the under 20 tournaments, and then hopefully make that jump to the Eagles, hopefully make that way into the MLR draft, get picked up. This year we are having the MLR Rising program, which is going to be focusing and showcasing on young collegiate talent to then hopefully get drafted. So I mean, they are doing a lot now in America to really focus on developing these players. Even the PR Sevens, which is the American Pro Sevens League, is starting a program to really focus on the pathway to developing young players to go on to go on to PR7's teams to then hopefully get picked up to be on the Eagles to then represent your country in the U.S. Olympics, which, like I said, is going to happen at the end of this month as well. So really, I think right now I'm very jealous of a lot of young athletes because now is a great time to get into rugby because, again, you have, if you want to go sevens, you have the opportunity to represent your country at the Olympics. If you want to go into rugby at the 15s, now is a great time because in about 7 years, we're going to have the first World Rugby Cup held here in the United States. So hopefully if you are starting now at 16 and 18, you are going to be in your prime at that point when the World Cup runs around here in America. So again, now is a great time to get into rugby, not only as an athlete but a fan as well. And this is one of those competitions to focus on. Now, the World Rugby Under-20 trophy, though, is technically the second tier in this competition level. The actual top tier is the World Rugby Under-20 Championship tournament, which is being competed on as we speak right now in South Africa. This is technically the tier 2 level, meaning that this is the second level, and what happens is these are teams that are not necessarily at the top level, they're a little bit below, but the winner of this tournament does get the chance to elevate themselves up. They get promoted to the championship tournament next year, while the loser, the ultimate last place team of the championship tournament, gets regulated down to the under-20 tournament. This year, unfortunately, Japan was that team that got regulated down, and they slide down to the trophy tournament this year. The only other team that didn't have to qualify through normal routes is Scotland, because they are the host team. They will be hosting all the games here in Edinburgh, Scotland. We'll run through the teams real quick. So in Pool A, Hong Kong, Japan, Scotland, and Samoa, as I mentioned before. Scotland, as I mentioned before, and Samoa are consistent in Pool A. Pool B, which is the pool that, of course, American fans are going to focus on a little bit more, has us USA, Netherlands, Uruguay, and Kenya. Uruguay, of course, coming in second last year, making it to the finals, but losing to Spain, who got promoted up to the championship tournament this year. Now, the way that this bracket works is that the Pool A teams only play each other. The Pool B teams play each other in one round of pool competition, and then the top teams of each pool play against each other. Championship teams, second place teams play against each other. Third place team, fourth place teams play against each other. Last year, USA competed in this under-20 trophy tournament. Unfortunately, didn't fare very well. Only won one game, and that was pretty much in the 7th place playoff game, taking on Hong Kong, who are in Pool A. That's the only win that they had, and they were able to finish in 7th place. USA, of course, qualified for this tournament by beating on Canada, sweeping them 2 games, the under-20 team, to make it in. And as we talk about that Canadian win, the roster for this under-20 USA team pretty much composing of practically the entire team that defeated Canada in pretty dominant fashion. A handful of those players, including the co-captains Don Basag and Kate Chris, are coming back for this trophy tournament. This team is pretty much composed of a lot of guys that are right there on the cusp of the 19 and 20-year-olds. Only 6 of the players are going to be eligible to play next year. So really you have a lot of older, maybe not experienced, but a lot of older talent. Next year, it's going to be interesting to see how this under-20 team develops, because you're only going to have 6 players potentially who could be on next year's squad, so a lot of inexperienced players. So hopefully USA head coach Nathan Garrick can really push this team to try to strike at this moment that the opportunity presents them. Now, USA has fared pretty good in trophy tournament competition. They won the 2012 version. They came in second in 2009 version, third place in 2014. Unfortunately, they did end up not qualifying for the tournament from 2017 to 2019. Of course, from 2019 to 2023, there was no tournament because of COVID. Last year was the first time that USA has been back in the tournament in 6 years. And then, of course, only placing 7th. So, hopefully, going to turn that around in this tournament. But let's take a look at the squad. So we have an announced 28-player roster. We don't have the announcing starting lineup for the very first game, but of course these are the players that we'll be pulling out of them. A bunch of really talented players. Like I mentioned before, a handful of them were on the team last year that placed 7th. We have 5 players from Cal Berkeley. We have 4 players that have already Major League Rugby experience. And of course, as I mentioned before, one of them has already been capped. That would be Dom Basag, who is a 2-time capped Eagle. He's the co-captain of the team, along with co-captain hooker Cade Chris. Both of them very talented players. Did a lot to contribute to that Canadian win to qualify into this tournament. But let's go over the roster really quick. First, you have your props: Asa Rosenmore from Brown University, Asborn Ross from UCLA, John Henry Rouse from St. Mary's, Luke Schaefer from Lindenwood, Thomas Wagner, who is actually an Australian-born player from Randwick University, but he is technically has USA heritage. As long as you have somebody, I believe, within your grandmother level, or your grandparents' level of nationality. So one of Thomas Wagner's grandparents are American-born. That does allow him to claim residency in America as long as he doesn't play a national game for the Australian team. So he has potential to be an Eagle. And then, as I mentioned before, you have your hookers, Cade Chris, 2 very talented hookers to begin with. Cade Chris, co-captain, he scored 2 tries against Canada from Cal Berkeley. And then, of course, Seth Smith. If you don't know this guy, my God, this man is not only a mountain of a man, but he is also the youngest player to ever play for Major League Rugby, as well as the youngest player to ever score a try in Major League Rugby history, playing for the Houston SaberCats. He is definitely a guy to watch out for in this squad. For your locks, you have Miles Malone from Berkeley, Bryce Mueller from Babson College. Your locks and flankers, you have George Engels from Army, Bramy Murray, who's played on Anthem Rugby. Other flankers, Logan Ballinger from Live, Holden Hahn from Kentucky, Daniel Lowther from St. Bonaventure. Flanker number 8, Grain Pendagana and Dylan Fortune both have been played on Anthem Rugby. Scrum halves, Judd Berman, Spencer Huntley, and Solomon Williams, Trinity College. Judd Berman is from Trinity College, which, again, he's an Irish-born player, but has heritage in the United States with U.S. grandparents. Spencer Huntley from San Diego Mustangs, Solomon Williams from Cal Berkeley, and then Ben Saunders, who played in the game against Canada, in the series against Canada, was 4 for 6 off of the tee. He is from GCU. And then you have a couple very talented fly halves or fullbacks. Ollie Klein, who was 6 for 7 in the series against Canada from Central Washington. He also played in last year's tournament. And Rand Santos, who was the co-captain of last year's team last year in the trophy tournament from Cal Berkeley. Interestingly enough, I think it's the centers and wingers that is, interesting, the numbers. You only have potentially 3 centers and potentially 4 wingers. One of them, Corbin Smith, also can play fullback. So really, it's kind of seeing that Neethling is really hoping that these guys can go a full game. Because when you only have 3 centers, 2 of them have to start the game. You're really not going to have a lot of substitution outs. So these guys are really going to have to work hard on the pitch. Of course, no one's going to work harder than Dom Basang. Dom Basang, honestly, that guy, he already has 2 caps as an Eagle. He is a future superstar Eagle in the making from St. Mary's. Surprised he did not go into the MLR draft, but he is definitely going to be a first-round pick by far. Max Threadhold from Cal Berkeley is the other center/winger, Tito Egwa from Brown. Your wingers are Keelan Farrell from Escher, and other winger Jordan Vassell from Life. And then your last winger/fullback, Corbin Smith, who also did 2 tries in the Canadian series. He is from Hartpury College. He is a British-born player with, again, heritage in the Americas. So that is the squad. Again, a lot of young talent. Very exciting. Highly recommend that you guys check out this series. 3 games in the next couple of weeks. All the games. If you want to watch the entire series, you can also watch the Under-20 Tournament Championship game. All games are going to be on RugbyPassTv. RugbyPassTv, honestly, a great app to watch a lot of rugby. They have 7s on there. Everything is absolutely free. No reason not to download the Rugby Pass. You can watch the games live or on demand. Especially depending if you're on the West Coast like I am, you're probably going to watch it on demand. But the schedule goes as follows. July 2nd, Tuesday, 11:45 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We kick off against Netherlands. And then July 7th, Sunday, 3:45 a.m. That's right, 3:45 a.m. 6:45 if you're on the East Coast, of course, is going to go against Uruguay. The Uruguay game is going to be interesting. That is the only team out of this pool that the U.S. played last year, and U.S. came very close to beating them, 33-31. As I mentioned before, Uruguay finished second last season. They are the early favorite to at least walk out of Pool B as the top place. So that's going to be a very, very huge game. And of course, there's not a lot of love lost between Uruguay and USA in the recent history, because Uruguay national team was the team that eliminated the USA from possibly being in the World Cup last year. So there's a lot of history between us and Uruguay. And then the last game, Friday, July 12th, 6:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, going against Kenya. So, yeah, should be exciting. As a Japanese fan as well, I am kind of happy that the USA and Japan are not going to play against each other. They're in separate pools, hoping that at least one of them can kind of make it into the top four, or top game would be great. I don't really know too much of the under-20 scene. Again, Uruguay did very, very well last year. Not to say that they won't do the same amount this year. Netherlands is kind of an unknown factor. Kenya has always been strong in developing their players. It's the Pool A that's going to be very interesting. Scotland, as I mentioned before, Scotland was regulated from the championship tournament 2 years ago into the trophy. They've been kind of hitting a little bit low, so it'll be interesting to see how that works. Samoa always develops their players really strongly. Hong Kong is another country, especially in the Asian scene, that is really starting to develop their rugby program, especially their sevens. Their sevens has really taken a big step, but they've really put a lot of interest into developing rugby now, just like what Japan's been doing, just like what Korea's been doing as well. Asia has really been focusing a lot on developing rugby in all the countries, and Hong Kong being here really says a lot. So this one's going to be a hard one. I think Scotland's probably going to walk out of it, but who knows? Japan just recently won. Their under-20s recently won the Asia series, and I don't believe they played Hong Kong in that series, but Japan definitely coming in with a little bit of momentum. So we'll see how it goes out. But again, great opportunity to find out about a lot of the young potential Eagle players that could possibly be playing in the next Olympics in Australia, and then of course in the Olympics here in 2031 in America. Like I said, if you're really interested in watching players develop, this is a great tournament to check out. Again, you don't have to watch it live. You can watch it on demand on RugbyPassTv. And as I mentioned before, this month is a huge month for rugby, so I'm going to have a lot of videos coming out. Especially this week, I have the MLR wrap-up video. We're going to compare my way too early predictions to how we finished in the power rankings. Of course, congratulations to our pick'em winner. And then, of course, we have the USA Eagles games that are coming up. So I have a lot of things coming up down the pipeline. And, of course, I appreciate you guys checking it out and always for your support. And thank you very much for checking out this video. And I'll see you on the pitch.